All right, this is going to be my Super Bowl 59 preview. Let's get started. Starting off with some stats, I'm going to go kind of through, some of these team stats from the regular and postseason combined here. The record for the Chiefs was 15-2. The Eagles 14-3. Chiefs averaged 27.5 points per game. The Eagles averaged 28.4. That the asterisk there is if you take the Chiefs Week 18 game away because they played all their backups, got blown out 38-0. So it does kind of skew the numbers a little bit, but I'm not going to try to bring it up really too much. Defensive points per game, Chiefs 21.5, Eagles 17.9. Margin of victory, 6.0 for the Chiefs and 10.5 for the Eagles. Yards per game, 302 for the Chiefs, 391 for the Eagles. Defensive yards per game is 385 for the Chiefs and 373 for the Eagles. And then the strength of schedule is 0.7 for the Chiefs, which is the 10th hardest in the league. And then they played the 4 and the 2 seed in the playoffs. And the Eagles is a minus 1.7, which is the third easiest in the league. And they played 7, 4, and a 6 seed. So just kind of looking at this, the Eagles had better offensive points per game, better defensive points per game, better margin of victory, better yards per game offensively and defensively. They win all of those categories. But despite winning literally all those categories, the Chiefs had a better record and they played a much harder schedule, right? The 10th hardest, while the Eagles played the third easiest. So that would be ranked the 30th hardest schedule, right? So the Chiefs played like, were 20 points above them on as far as strength of schedule. 20 rankings ahead of them, I should say. So that's pretty impressive that the Chiefs lost all the categories here, but somehow had a better record while playing a much harder schedule. But yeah, moving on from there, we got the team comparison. I'm going to talk about each position group, and then compare them, right? So starting off with the coaching staff for the Chiefs, you got Andy Reid, Spagnuolo, and Matt Nagy. Eagles got Nick Sirianni, Vic Fangio, and Kellen Moore. Patrick Mahomes is obviously the quarterback for the Chiefs. Eagles got Jalen Hurts. Running backs for the Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, and Samaje Perine. All three of those guys usually get some playing time each game, so I included all three. And for the Eagles, they got Saquon Barkley and Kenneth Gainwell. They got a third guy. I forget, Will Shipley. He doesn't really get much playing time, so I didn't mention him here this game. But next up for the receivers, you got Xavier Worthy, D-Hop, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Hollywood Brown for the Chiefs. And then A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, and Paris Campbell for the Eagles. Tight ends, you got Travis Kelce and Noah Gray for the Chiefs, and then Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra for the Eagles. Offensive line, you got Joe Thuney, Mike Caliendo, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Juan Taylor for the Chiefs. The Eagles, you got Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton, and Lane Johnson. Defensive line, you got George Karlaftis, Trishawn Wharton, Chris Jones, Mike Dana, and Charles Menahu for the Chiefs. And the Eagles got Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter. For the linebackers for the Chiefs, you got Drew Tranquil, Nick Bolton, and Leo Chenal, while the Eagles have Nolan Smith, Zach Bond, Josh Sweat, and Oren Burks. Now, the DBs for the Chiefs, you got Trent McDuffie, Justin Reed, Brian Cook, Jalen Watson, and Joshua Williams. And the Eagles got Quinton Mitchell, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Darius Slay, and Cooper DeJean. Now, special teams for the Chiefs, you got Harrison Butker for kicker, Matt Araiza for punter, and Nico Ormigio for the return specialist. The Eagles got Jake Elliott at kicker, Braden Mann at punter, and Isaiah Rodgers or Cooper DeJean for their return specialist. Now I'm going to go through each category and give basically talk about who I think wins the category. So for the Chiefs, coaching staff, I have a 2-1 victory there for the Chiefs. I think Andy Reid's better than Nick Sirianni. I think Spagnuolo is better than Vic Fangio, although that is pretty close there. And then Kellen Moore, I think, is better than Matt Nagy. Chiefs fans will tell you that Matt Nagy sucks. So, yeah, going on from there. Quarterback, I gave a 2-1 victory for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is better than Jalen Hurts. If you disagree with that, you're not a smart human being, in my opinion. But it is pretty close, honestly. So I did give Jalen Hurts 1 point there. For running backs, I give it 2-1 there for the Eagles. Saquon's obviously the best running back in this game, probably the best player in this game, certainly a case for that. Because the Chiefs have 3 guys there, they all get involved, and they all get involved in the passing game as well. I gave him 1 point there, mostly for the depth. Wide receivers, I gave 2-1 there for the Eagles. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, probably the top 2 receivers in this game as well. But I think Worthy, Hopkins, Juju, and Hollywood Brown are all better than Jahan Dotson and Paris Campbell. So, again, Chiefs have the depth here, while the Eagles have the star power, the top two for the wide receivers. Next up is 2-1 for the tight end group. Travis Kelce and Noah Gray are a pretty solid duo there. Dallas Goedert is really good in the playoffs. He's been really good so far this playoffs, so I respected him and gave the Eagles 1 point for that aspect. Now for offensive line, I gave it 2-1 victory for the Eagles. I think these are the two best offensive lines in the league. Lions are up there, but I would say the Eagles are 1, Chiefs are 2. So the Eagles get, obviously get the win here, but the Chiefs certainly get a point because, again, they have a really good offensive line as well. So after all the offense, it's currently tied, I believe, 9 points to 9 points. So that's, pretty cool there. And now for the defensive line, I gave a 3-0 victory for the Chiefs. I think Chris Jones is better than Jordan Davis. I think George Karlaftis is better than Jalen Carter. I think Mike Dana is better than Milton Williams. And then Chiefs have other depth guys like Tershawn Wharton and Charles Omenihu. So the Chiefs, I think, win every head-to-head battle here and have the depth. So that's why I give them a clean sweep for defensive line. Now, next up for linebackers, I give a 2-1 victory here for the Eagles. Zach Bond's the best linebacker on either of these teams, but then second best would probably be Nick Bolton, and then Duke Tranquil and Leo Chanel are both pretty close there with the other three Eagles guys. But again, the Eagles have the best guy and they have more depth, so I do give them a 2-1 victory in that regard. Now for the defensive backs, I gave a 2-1 victory for the Chiefs. I think these are probably the two best secondaries or defensive back groups, at least in the entire league, in my opinion. All five of these guys for both teams are all really, really good players, right? So you can't go wrong with either team. If you want to flip this around the other way, give it 2-1 victory for the Eagles, go ahead and do it. But I think certainly they're pretty close, and I think they're the best two DB groups in the league. Now special teams is a 3-0 victory for the Chiefs, in my opinion. You got three categories to go. Kicker, Harrison Butker is better than Jake Elliott. Matt Rice is a better punter than Braden Mann. And Nico Remigio is a better return man than Isaiah Rodgers or Cooper DeJean. Right? He's shown that in the two playoff games they had so far. He had a great opening kickoff return versus the Houston Texans, and he had a great punt return against the Buffalo Bills. So tallying all this up, we have a 18-12 victory here for the Kansas City Chiefs. If you take away defensive line and special teams, then it gets, right there, it's a tied game. So it is very, very close in here. Certainly, there's some things that you could flip-flop. You could give the Eagles a clean sweep for RBs. You could give the Eagles 1 point for defensive line. You could give them a 2-1 lead there for DBs as well. So it is really, really close to being an even split here. But the Chiefs win 18-12, in my opinion. Of course, you can, you can change it up if you want. I wouldn't be mad at you at all there. But going into some of the betting lines for this game, the Chiefs are -1.5. They're minus 120 for the money line. The Eagles are flat 100 for the money line, and the over/under is at 48.5. I think the over/under should be like 51.5. I think it's going to go over. I'm taking the over personally. But I'll get into that a little bit later. As far as sort of the MVP, I'll just give you the names. I'm not going to give you the lines and stuff. You can kind of read that yourself. But the Super Bowl MVP got Mahomes, Barkley, Hurts, and Kelce. Anytime touchdown, you got Jalen Hurts, Saquon at minus odds, and you got Mahomes, Kelce, and Goddard. Some of the player props here, you got Barkley at 110 rushing yards, Kareem Hunt at 45 rushing yards, Patrick Mahomes at 29 rushing yards, A.J. Brown at 69 receiving yards, Harrison Butker at 7.5 kicking points, Noah Gray at 1.5 receptions, DeAndre Hopkins at 1.5 receptions, and then Dallas Goedert at 52 receiving yards. So as far as my picks go personally, I have the Chiefs winning 34-30. So I have the Chiefs money line. I have the them to cover the -1.5 spread, and I have Patrick Mahomes winning Super Bowl MVP. Right? I think if the Chiefs win, Mahomes is definitely winning MVP. Also, I like I said earlier, I have the over by quite a bit in this game. Some of the other lines I got Harrison Butker over his 7.5 kicking points. That seems pretty low. I think he'll get 2 field goals and 2 extra points pretty easily. I have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley giving an anytime touchdown. Seems pretty easy that Jalen Hurts get the tush push in this game, and Saquon's going to score a touchdown because he's Saquon freaking Barkley. Now, for other guys, DeAndre Hopkins, I'm getting over 1.5 receptions. That doesn't seem too hard. I know it hasn't been great, been a real contributor in a lot of the games for the Chiefs, but I think in the Super Bowl, he's going to kind of show out a little bit and get a couple catches at least. A.J. Brown, 69 receiving yards. I believe last time they played in the Super Bowl, I think it was Devontae Smith going off. So I think they'll kind of key in on that a little bit. And then A.J. Brown will have a really good game, in my opinion. Then I also have Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown. So, you know, that's not a very good line for that, but I think the story works. If the Chiefs win this Super Bowl, Kareem Hunt coming back to KC after, essentially missing out on 3 Super Bowls because of, abusing women and stuff, um, I think the story writes itself for him to come here and get a get a rushing touchdown in the Super Bowl. But yeah, moving on from there, that is going to be it here in the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check my NBA videos that I got on this channel as well. And as soon as Super Bowl ends, I will have a lot of player ranking content to watch as well. Might take me a week or two to get those finished up for you guys.